Today we have with us Mr. Resul Pookutty, a renowned technician from India who's made our country proud by winning an Oscar for us on the critically acclaimed film Slumdog Millionaire. I'm going to be asking questions pertaining to independent filmmaking as a student filmmaker myself, and certain questions regarding audio engineering, audio and sound design. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So first, as a layman, somebody who's watching or tuned in for the first time, could you please tell us the difference between audiography and sound design?
In a way, it is one and the same.
Okay.
When you say anything that is graphy, cinematography, or that we talk about recording, audiography means the art of recording. When it comes to cinema, an audiographer means he is a person who is responsible for the entire soundtrack of the film. In filmmaking, at two stages recording happens. One, primarily when the film is shot. You record the live sound, which is the production, we call it production sound, which is basically the performance of actors on location while we shoot. And then at the post stage, sound post stage, the film is edited. All the sounds are put together, music is put together, everything is put together. Then we align all these individual elements and we re-record the film again, The whole idea of re-recording is to create a soundtrack which is emotionally moving as an emotional piece in relation to the narrative graph of the film. So they are called re-recorders. A sound designer is relatively a new term because the sound post in film is so vast and it is so compartmentalized. You need a person who in Hollywood called the supervising sound editor, or a person who conceive the entire sound of the film. Imagine you're dealing with a science fiction film. How a car would sound 100 years from now, or say you are dealing with a period film. What are the sounds of that period, say 100 years before present time? And or you're doing any genre of filmmaking, be it a suspense thriller or a drama, or whatever be the nature of the film. That somebody is sitting with the directors, with the rest of the creative team, and conceiving this is the texture of the sound. Like the way a cameraman creates a visual language for the film. So this man, who is a sound designer, who conceives the entire soundtrack and gives an oral texture to the film.
So as fairly as a new concept that sound design is, how fairly new is it, sir? Like in India, when compared to Indian cinema, how fairly new?
You started hearing this term, maybe post 2004.
Okay, 2004.
It's 10 years.
Which movies, sir? Which movies in specific?
I would say Black.
Okay.
Lagan. Those are the Indian movies that Split Wide Open, Bombay Boys, English August. Those are the films. Initially, you started hearing this term, sound designer. So if you look at it before my Oscar, there was only one national award for sound. That is for audiographer. And after my Oscars, there are three, national award for sound. There's one for production sound, one for re-recording mixing, and one for sound design.
Okay.
Because as the technology evolved, area of specialization has widened. So now, sound designer as a term is been accepted by people. As a area of work, it's been accepted by people. So, in 10 years, so many things have changed in Indian cinema.
So with regards to audio, sir, is there something that we can exemplify, something that we can replicate, something that, what should we keep as a benchmark, as something like independent filmmakers, so that we can, movies that obviously there are some legendary filmmakers who have done it, but where should we start off with? Because technology is changing. Cameras are easily accessible, but the concept of audio, using audio for film, keeps people kind of stay away from it because it's post-production. So whatever the designer or the audio engineer says, we just listen. Something that we need to polish ourselves or train ourselves in certain things technically.
See, the biggest challenge of audio, it's the biggest challenge of audio, and it's also the sad part of audio, is that when you see something not good in visual, you immediately make out that it's not good in visual.
Yes.
If something looks out of focus, if the colors are not correct, or if there are noises in a picture, you immediately make out. But you don't make that out in sound. So what is audible becomes acceptable. But what is audible does not make an image. Unless and until what is audible is an image, it doesn't inspire, it doesn't tell a story. Okay. Why do you remember things? Because it left something inside you. Okay. You hear a door closing far away. That leaves an impression in you, that gives a sense of image.
Yes.
Okay. So the whole idea conceptually is that every piece of sound that comes in a film should be able to create an image. What happened after digital technology came into is like you said, in the earlier times you needed a lot more discipline.
Exactly.
Because you're dealing with expensive medium. Film was an expensive medium. Yes. And today it is not an expensive medium. So the whole charm of, you take a picture, go to the lab, process it. I know when I was a film student, first time I was given a still camera, I couldn't sleep that night. I had to get up like 5 a.m. and take a shot, finish 20 snaps, in one roll, 26 stills you get. You finish all that because you have to finish all that to take it to the lab and process it, and you look at it. The joy of looking at an image that you created, it is no more there. You can take a camera, click it. You can shoot a film in an iPhone or any other phone that is available today. So the concept of image, sort of waned out. When a cameraman used to shoot, I used to see a lot of times, we used to go and put our hand and see what is the light. Or you look at a scenery like that. Okay, this is how it is going to be appearing in a film. There was a lot of you involved in that process. Now it is not required. Slowly what is happening is, there is the technology is constantly telling you don't need to use the faculty of memory anymore. You don't need to visualize. You can see it. So that when it comes to picture, you are immediately able to make an association. When it comes to sound, you are not able to make an association. So you need to be trained.
Okay.
Because we hear n number of things. Our sensory power is so strong. I think we as a species, we are far more tuned to sound than picture, what we see. Because as a species, we were hunters. So we used to look ahead, but we were always tuned to what is coming from behind. Our brain, because attack always came from behind.
Exactly.
You see, so in terms of as a species, how we evolved, our sensory power is more sound than the picture. So we hear so many things, but we don't listen to so many things. So there is, as a filmmaker, I would say, you have to get trained to listen. For example, most of the independent filmmakers that I see and I come across, they have a fair amount of idea about lensing. They know what a 50mm lens would do, what an 80mm lens would do, what a 25mm lens would do, or a 100mm lens would do to the picture. But they don't know what a shotgun mic or a long gun mic or a modular mic would do. There are so many brands of mic that is available. Which microphone to choose to record a shot? And director has no idea. But he has a fair amount of idea about which lens to use.
Exactly.
You see the point?
Yes.
I think we need to get seriously trained. And that is the main reason why our filmmaking is so poor in terms of audio.
So, sir, all the art forms, like say someone like me who trains himself rather than going through all the known sources of, like a film school, or someone who's at home, who tells, I cannot afford a film school. Like when I heard in one of your previous interviews, like I couldn't That nowadays a film school is somewhere in lakhs, whereas your state fund and government funded education for the film school was around only 800 rupees.
600 rupees.
600 rupees
when I began.
So that was film school at that time. Now it's somewhere in lakhs. So, but still there are people who are trying, they're pushing, they're trying to teach themselves certain things, like people like me who couldn't afford, but we have gone and found our own resources about technology, about resources, and taught ourselves. What is, like, what do you expect from a director, sir? Technology wise.
Let me come to your point, because what you raise is a very, very serious issue. You know,
Yes, sir.
we are talking about a very, very serious issue. Like, there is a philosophy by which Pune Film Institute came into being.
Mm-hmm.
That philosophy was, of course, cinema, the greatest leaders, the biggest leaders in the world over. I mean, be it Hitler to anybody you take, Stalin to anyone, Lenin to anybody, Churchill to anyone. They found cinema as the biggest tool of social movement. You know, like the entire Nazi movement was based on one film that they have made. You know, so they found cinema as a huge medium, huge medium. You know, possibly a medium that can change in the post-industrial era. So when we gained independence and when we needed to find roots in our people, Government of India put visionaries, and they came up with, we did it in defense, we did it in space research, we did it in many other areas, because post-independent we needed to prove to the world that we are something.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to art and culture, Nehru found cinema, and he picked up that tool, and he put in a committee, and he came up with a vision of forming Pune Film Institute. This came up with as a, it is considered to be one of the best 5 international film schools, like Moscow, Cuban Film School, French Film School, and the London Film School, and Indian Film School. They all came up with the same philosophy. The philosophy is that there are people who are living in city, and there are people who are living in the farthest villages of India, who would probably have a better sense of storytelling, or who is expert. So they needed to be brought into the mainstream, which is also what our constitutional fathers have imagined of India. That is how Pune Film Institute is set up. That we have to find a person from the farthest village, bring him into the forefront, because he would also have immense amount of talent. Look at my own case. I came from a village where there was no electricity until I was 17. There was no school nearby. I had to walk 6 kilometers till my 7th, 8th standard of studies. I studied under a kerosene lamp. Look from where that institute has picked me up, and where they put me. They put me in Kodak Theatre in a short span of 15 years. That is the strength of that vision. What is happening today is that because we opened up to market economy, everything is money. And when we talk about India, 80% of India is still struggling to make one day meal.
Exactly.
The average earning of an Indian is 20 rupees. Look at the kind of money that entertainment industry is able to make it for the government. 40% of every ticket that you buy goes to the government. If a ticket is costing you 100 rupees for a cinema, 40 rupees going to the government. What is the government doing in terms to the industry back? 2 film school and 1 international film festival. That is it. Where is all the money going? If the government is serious, they should go back to the vision of India. The vision of India is that, like Gandhiji said, the soul of India is lying in its villages. We have to pick them up, like you said.
Yes.
I don't have the means to study, but I have something in it, inside me. And if you look at every successful person in India, they all came from there. None of them, barring very few, none of them came from aristocratic families. None of them came from well-to-do families. They all came from nowhere. The moment you start filling up the application form in a film school, you are resorting yourself to be a struggler the rest of your life. You take the case of an IIT, somebody who is studying in IIT, he passes out, he becomes an engineer. Somebody from IIM become a manager. Somebody from AIMS become a doctor. Somebody from FTI become a struggler. You are a struggling cameraman, or you are a struggling sound recordist, you are a struggling actor, or a struggling director, struggling writer. You struggle for your first film, you struggle for your second film, you struggle through the life. You know? And for what? Because you are passionate about something. So you are not ordinary people. You see? That's the foremost thing that we have to understand. That you take this path because you are not an ordinary person.
I have a technical question now, sir. Regarding live sound. I love it. I love live sound. I used it for my film Blood Empires, and the results were amazing. But in India, when it comes to Indian cinema, there are only a handful of projects that actually use live sound. Why is it that dubbing is still considered a standard, or why is it considered the best option in Indian cinema?
It is not a standard, by the way.
Okay.
It is not a standard. There's a history to it. There's a reason why it has happened. See, when sound came into being in cinema, it could have only been recorded live. You know, there are stories of even music being recorded live when the film has been shot. So that was one phase of technology. You know, then the magnetic technology came in, and the studio era finished towards the 70s, mid 70s. Film started going out from the studios to actual locations, to beautiful locations. You know, the studio cameras were ID2C cameras, which needed 3-phase AC to power to run and all that. From there were smaller cameras were designed, like ID2C, ID3, this kind of camera. Smaller cameras which can go in a tripod has come in. So the cinema started moving out. Until then, cinema was recorded on a film, like on a sound camera, in a film by the film is shot. Magnetic technology came into being, and Kudelsky invented Nagra, and people accepted that as a technology. So a small Nagra recorder started going to location. So what happened is a lot of filmmaking has gone into this, and we resorted into replacing sound because we never could record. So there's a history to that. So then it became a practice until in the 90s. So from 70s to 90s, 95, I'm a huge proponent of sync sound, live sound as we call it, because by way of not doing live sound, I think you're doing injustice to an actor. An actor has been treated as a mimer.
Yes.
You're not doing injustice to the audience. Somebody who's coming to buy a ticket, you're not giving him the first-hand performance of an actor.
Exactly.
You're giving a duplicated performance of an actor. So I feel on a very philosophical plane, I see not doing live sound is a huge mistake. And any actor today would tell you that every dubbing room that we come across is that they are never able to replicate their performance, because this is when you have to catch lip sync and you have to catch the emotion. When you catch lip sync, the emotion is not right.
Yes.
When you have the emotion is right, the lip sync is not right. So it's always a compromise. It is like saying when you translate something, an original work, into some other language. Now what is lost in translation is the original itself.
Yes.
That's what happens in a dubbing. Okay. In 95. And I have a very dear friend, I don't know if you know Pan Nalin, who made these wonderful films. He's also based in Paris.
Okay.
He brought in a lot of sound gear. That's a gear I have used to record my first Essential Indian Sound Effects album. Okay. First time I ever heard a stereo mic was because Nalin brought those gear to India. So it is these people who have changed the scenario for audio, not me.
Right.
I just practiced it and vehemently practiced it. In today, we have the best of the gear. We have everything available, like the way it is available in the US, in the UK, Hollywood, European cinema. We have every gear. And today, as we speak, a microphone that is developed in India. I've been a part of the testing group of those microphones, been advising and testing and listening, and is showcased in the AES convention day before yesterday. in the US. A microphone developed. Imagine, this all happened in 10 years. We were the biggest filmmaking country in the world. We never made anything that the world used. A microphone, a lens, a camera, a speaker. No. Today, my dear friend from Calcutta, his speakers are hotcakes, selling all over the world now. You know, new microphones are being designed. We are seriously working on virtual reality now as a technology, you know, and evolving. So it's all happened in 10 years, you know. So and I've been on the forefront of that revolution. And I'm very happy.
That's really nice, sir. Could you please tell us technically, why is it that certain action sequences for Endiran, when it comes to regards to Endiran Part 2.2, certain sequences you record in live, then what do you do with it in post? Do you dub it again, or do you use certain elements of it? Could you explain that whole process, sir? Because VFX is a big industry. VFX shooting, VFX production as such is a big thing. So when you're shooting certain sequences in live sound, what do you do with it in post?
Because see, there are certain things that I can't replace. For example, I'm in a stadium with 5,000 people. You know, I can't replicate that with 50 people. I want to be there in that stadium when they're filming that. I want to capture those sounds. The biggest challenge of VFX today is that, see, any VFX that you see have to be believable.
Yes.
To be believable, it should be associated with sound that is believable. You know, so that otherwise VFX doesn't work. So sound becomes very, very crucial for VFX. Many people does not understand it, but serious VFX people understand it. Because when I was working in RA1, you know, there was energy ball. They're fighting with energy ball. And if you look at sequences, like they're throwing cars up in the air. The VFX supervisor from Hollywood used to send me scientific details. This is the mass of the ball. This is the velocity in which it is traveling. So you calculate the momentum and you create the sound. So when it hits, it is hitting in that momentum. So we have done things like that. I did sound according to that.
A big thing for me would be Mr. Selvakumar, sir, when I was starting off my career. At the time I didn't know what Chennai was, I didn't know what Tamil industry was, I didn't know anything. He was a big knowledge resource for me. It's on a personal note. I would ask you, when you were starting off, who was your knowledge resource? Who guided you?
I studied in film school, in Pune Film Institute. So we had a large community of alumni. You know, the FTI and its people are like, you finish your film school, you go to Bombay, you go to your seniors.
Okay.
They'll give you money, they'll give you a place to stay, and they'll ensure that you get your first job.
Okay.
That's a kind of fondness. It's a large community of people. It's called, you know, the graduates of FTI. We are very, very serious artists and technicians. We are, I think, one of the most humane artists, consortium of artists in the country, and we take care of our juniors and we guide them. You know, anyone who comes to me, been guided. You know, because I got guidance from them. I got food from them, my seniors. I got job from my seniors. They gave me shelter. They directed me. So I had the good fortune of so many of them. To name a few people, I had Vikram Joglekar, who was still one of the country's most prominent domain expert. He works in Dolby now. Okay. Was one of the serious mind and ear of Indian cinema. I mean, all the works of Manika and Kumar Shani and all those films. You know, he has been the ear, and I've been fortunate to been working, beginning my career with him, and Satish PM, who to introduce him. I mean, if you've seen Bahubali, he did the sound design for Bahubali, and Satish has been a part of my entire growth. Because there was a time in my life where I get up in the morning and first thing I do is call him up, go to his house, and I used to hang around with him, and he has guided me. And this entire, Pro Tools and this whole digital revolution came up, we were in the forefront of it, me and him.
Okay.
And we began the first sound design room in the country.
Okay.
Fireflies Post Sound.
Wow.
Where we thought, as sound people, we have to make the director listen what we think is the sound of the film.
What kind of software or equipment would you suggest for someone as a newcomer who's interested in studying sound design or taking sound design as a career? That is the aspect A of the question. And B would be, or more on a technical note, what platform would you have to choose? A Mac or a PC? Because that's a big decision, I feel, nowadays. What would you suggest?
The first part of the question, I don't subscribe to the view that you become an expert of a software and you become a sound designer. You become a good operator. Because sound is only a craft, one element of filmmaking. If you do not understand the whole picture,
Yes.
you are just a master of one small element. You would not be able to see the bigger picture. The other aspect is what platform that you use. It's actually your choice. I studied in PC. My initial formal computer training is in PC, but I only used PC when I was studying. I didn't even know how to use it now. But all my work I have done in Mac platform. For us professionals, I think Mac is the most stablest platform. The way independent cinema growing in this country, the way the regional cinema is going, Tamil cinema, Malayalam cinema, Marathi cinema, Gujarati cinema, you take anything, and the way the kind of content that has been experimented in the mainstream Hindi cinema, all the mainstream film making today is huge. So in that process, a lot of youngsters is picking this up as a career option.
Okay.
Studying, there are a lot of schools coming up. When youngsters come into a stream, there's going to be a lot of academics, a lot of competition, a lot of new thoughts going to come, and I feel it is very, very bright.
And so a few upcoming projects that you're really excited to be working on. Future projects.
Kabil coming up in Hindi, that is my main. Again, it's a story based on a blind man, and so it's all sound again. I'm very, very happy that people coming to me with sound as their basic encryption of the script. So Kabil is coming up. There is there's another Hollywood film that I've done. It's called Love Sonia, that is coming up, and I did a little bit of work in Inferno, that is also coming up, and then there are a few more. There's a Marathi film that I have done. There's a Kannada film that I have done. So then there is 2.0.